Oh, okay. Start over the whole thing? Oh, okay. Great. So I just want to welcome everyone. This is the 11th episode of the 7 Habits of Successful People. This one is talking about habit stacking. And we're going to talk about morning routines that you guys can implement to create your $1 million brand. Hi, Mark. Yeah, we hear you. Sorry, technical glitch. And guys, if you want to jump in on the comments below. We're in Matt Black Productions. Matthew Culhane will hopefully interact with you in the comment section. But we have a very special guest today. I'll be announcing him in 3 minutes. And this is our first one-on-one interview in Millionaire brand creation. And who better to talk to than someone who is a deca millionaire many times over. This gentleman has done amazing things in business and in life. And we're going to weave his story with Stephen Covey's book. If you guys haven't read Stephen Covey's book, The 7 Habits of Highly Successful People, I highly recommend that you do. In it, he talks about the 3 dynamics that we're going to talk about in this hour. How you go from being dependent to independent, and then the highest level of emotional maturity when it comes to your habits is interdependent, right? Where you're completely devoid of relying fully on other people, but more importantly, relying on yourself and those people that you choose to have around you. So without further ado, I want to bring in a good friend of mine. This gentleman, his name is Andrew Sallee. He comes to us from Arizona, but he's a resident of Iowa and someone who has done amazing things. This gentleman came from poverty in the early years of his life. He moved up in the ranks, made his multi-millions in the real estate business, specifically in commercial real estate. He has a personal portfolio of over $65 million of commercial real estate, a personal net worth north of $34 million. And so as we build our millionaire brand creation, wanted to talk to someone who's actually done it to give us pointers, to give us some habits, give us some things that really ties into what we're doing, how you guys can be more successful in your lives and in your businesses. So how are we doing with Andy?
He's coming online shortly.
Okay, great. So if you missed the first part, we're going to interweave Stephen Covey's book, The 7 Habits of Highly Successful People. If you guys haven't read it yet, highly recommend that you do. When we're born, obviously. Oh, okay. We have Andy coming in. Andy, how are you, my friend?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Wonderful. Oh, beautiful. There you are, looking dapper as usual.
Try to keep up with you guys.
Well, thanks for coming on. So today we're talking about habit stacking and morning routines that you can implement forever for the entirety of your life to become more successful. And I was telling everyone on YouTube Live, what we're going to weave into your story, if you don't mind, is Stephen Covey's book, which is The 7 Habits of Highly Successful People. And what I'd like to do is first learn about you. I gave you the opening introduction, if you heard it, Andy. I talked about tell us a little bit about your background. How did you grow up?
I grew up in Iowa, Illinois area. I grew up like extreme poverty. Grew up from trailer park to trailer park to trailer park. But I started at an early age wanting to be an entrepreneur or business guy. And back then, when I was 13, I just wanted Reebok shoes, I remember. That was like a big deal, and Guess jeans. So I sold rocks door to door at like 12 or 13, and I bought those. So I grew up in an environment that I guess I didn't want to stay in. It's weird, too, because everybody in my family is totally comfortable with that environment. I'm just the black sheep of the family.
Well, it's interesting because if you read what you told me you did, Stephen Covey's book, there's 3 levels of habits, right? So as we're born, which you were born into abject poverty, like you said, is the idea of dependence, right? We're born in a dependent environment. We're born to depend on our family, our relatives, our friends, things of that nature. And then as we grow into more success, we become independent, right? You're financially independent. But the highest level of habit maturity, which I'm sure you can touch on, is the idea of interdependence, right? Where we have a strength within ourselves, like you have when it comes to business in your life, but also the interdependence of collaboration and bringing people together to create great leaps and bounds. So can you talk about how you went from the trailer park to the boardroom?
Well, I don't know if I'm in a boardroom, but I will tell you. So at the age of, I graduated high school in '94. At the age of 17, I started a telemarketing job for a Windows siding company. And, and then I worked up to be the manager of the phone room. God, that was a rough job. But anyway, then I begged and borrowed to steal to get into sales. And in that situation, I only wanted to do sales because I thought I could sell. I didn't know. But the sales guys were wearing Rolexes and back then new Jeep Cherokees and BMWs. And I'm like, I want all that. How do I get that? So I got into sales. And at the age of 20, I made $102,000. And I thought I was rich. I thought I had made it, right? And I was doing real well. And then at 23, I got hit with a $100,000 income tax bill because I was paying, I was 1099. And I didn't know who that IRS guy was. So I had to grow up really, really fast. And that was scary. I mean, at 20, I bought a $200,000 home, 5-bedroom, 3-bath, swimming pool, jacuzzi, beautiful. But I knew to keep it, I had to change things. So then I got into the IRS issue. And at this time now, I'm making about $150,000 a year. But the change didn't happen until I was 28 years old. I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. And he just pretty much, how much money do you make while you sleep? And at that point, I just wanted to make enough passive income to cover my fancy house and my new Corvette. I wanted my toys covered. Because I still traveled 6 weeks a year and had fun. My job required about 30 hours a week of work. And then at 28, I was probably making $250,000 a year. But I'll be honest, I was making $250,000 and spending $300,000. I was buying every toy I could imagine because I thought I'm making $5,000 a week. I thought in my head, 28 years old, I got everything figured out. Then I read that book, left that. I mean, my boss gave me the book. He was my mentor, and just wrote a nice thing that said, don't end up where I'm at. I've made millions, and I have a net worth of zero. How many people have made millions and millions of dollars and have no passive income or no net worth? So I was like, well, I'll change it up. So I ended up starting my own home improvement company. We did $1.3 million when I started in 2003. More than that in a month. But I dabbled in real estate. Honestly, I did everything wrong. I just did, bought a single family house, a 4-plex, 6-plex, 8-plex. But I did it so slow and boring because it didn't click in my head till 10 years later. So 28 to 38, I just dabbled a little. But I grew the portfolio over time, but very slow, very boring, not sexy. But then the income on my passive income started to go farther than my earned income from my company. And I had over 100 employees, and I actually had to go to work every day. I had a job, you had to go somewhere. That was weird. God, I don't miss that. I hear that, like my dentist and I talk, and he's, a millionaire, but he's got to go to a job. I'm like, that's crazy. People actually have to go somewhere. That's weird. So the passive income changed my life completely, where first, I'll be honest, at the age of 40, I got arrogant. My net worth was, 8 figures, but I got lazy. I had a lot of money in the bank. Well, back then I thought it was a lot of money. And my passive income was good. So I went and laid on a beach for almost 3 years. I did nothing. I lived off my passive income. I didn't buy, new Lamborghinis or Ferraris, not new Rolexes. I just chilled. And honestly, I got into massive depression. I drank too much alcohol. I got fatter. So literally, we could do a show on just all of my mistakes. But then I went to an event with Grant Cardone, and he really sparked a fire. And now I'm massively growing, but I'm doing things so much different on the due diligence part prior to an acquisition. Prior to an acquisition, I'm analyzing it like I got $3 to my name and not a nickel in the bank. I'm looking at it like everything could go wrong. And I never, before, what I did was, I'm a skydiver, obviously with a couple thousand jumps. So I looked at my investing career as like, I'll jump out of an airplane and look for a parachute on the way down. Now I like to measure twice, cut once.
That's right. No, it's
So
important.
that's, quick synopsis of my life.
Well, no, I think that's great, and I think it helps a lot of people. And as they're watching in YouTube Live, they're going to come back to it and rewatch this, Andy. And one of the
I
things,
hope.
yeah, they will.
You
Believe
got
me,
me
they will.
excited at dinner last night. This is my very first podcast. So
Oh,
I've
great.
never done this in my life. I've never done live really anything.
Well, you're in great company, because I think a lot of people want to learn. They want to learn from massive success, and you have massive success. And so if you remember Stephen Covey's book, there's 7 steps to really highly effective success, and maybe we'll just go through each point and see how you've implemented them. So the first is be proactive. How have you been more proactive in your life?
Well, proactive, I would call that. When I read the book, I thought about that. And proactive is kind of what you do in private, and in my head, like what I do in private when nobody's watching and there's no, fancy Culhane or Michael or anybody else. So I kind of think of like my morning routine and what I do to prepare for my day and prepare for stress. And, I've got my list every day I go through of all my boring stuff that I got to accomplish. So I really kind of plan out everything. Before, I honestly just winged everything.
Yep.
I don't wing anything now.
You can't. And so one of
the stakes are too high. I play it at a level now. I get in a car accident, I don't die. I don't have time.
So the second is begin with the win in mind. How has your mindset changed when you've thought about
Totally.
winning?
Dude, I can't even imagine you saying that word. Mindset is everything. I used to think, buying an apartment, a 6-plex a year or 12-plex a year, and obviously you and I know, I don't know if we're comfortable sharing numbers or what you want, but I set a goal in the beginning of 2021 to acquire $1 million a week in assets. When I wrote that down, dude, that was bullshit. I was like, I can't fucking hit that. Oh, sorry.
You can use profanity. It's fine.
First time. So anyway, I wrote that goal and I'm like, that's an idiot. But I was like, let's just write stupidness and see what happens. And I didn't hit that goal, but I closed $47 million in assets last year. No partners, no hard money, no stuff. This is just me and me only and my team. But I own 100% of everything, and I love that. But the first thing, is mindset. Like, be honest with you, I was kind of floating out there in space until the last few years. But now number one is mindset. So I set some goals that are crazy. I got more goals this year, and I don't know if I hit them, but I'm going to try like hell. And at the end of the year, I'll feel confident that I tried. And if I didn't hit 52 million, I got 47. Thank you, Lord. That's a win. And my goals in 22 are even bigger.
So here's the next one. So the third essential habit is put first things first. So what's first on your plate right now?
Well, first, honestly, when I get up, you mean in the morning? Like my first thing is, don't laugh at me, but I read the Bible. My pastor challenged me to read the entire Bible in a year. So now I'm doing it for the second time. I listen to Joel Osteen. I do the podcasts of Dean Graziosi, Grant Cardone. Those, the deals, yes, are obviously in my head. I'm negotiating on over 40 million in acquisitions right now. So those are in my head, but I've got to get the other stuff first. Then I hit the gym and meet my personal trainer. I try to wake before the sun comes up. But every morning when I'm in my town, which is not a ton, I'm meeting my personal trainer. So really it's goals, podcasts, a little, higher faith, and then gym, and then let's dial in all the numbers on deals, go look at my buildings and that.
Well, it's funny because I think when you change your morning habits and routines, your life changes. 100%.
And to God. And to God.
Absolutely.
If you told everybody just, hey, get up before the sun rises, spend an hour thinking about what you want to accomplish, and don't just dream. Dream is just silliness. We want to dream, but strategically align your thoughts on how you can accomplish that dream. Jumping out of an airplane takes courage, but it has nothing to do with confidence. Confidence comes from a lot of wins over time. And thank God, every morning I have a little more confidence, but I struggle with, as you know, I don't have a girlfriend or a wife or kids or any of that, and I struggle with confidence. But yes, mindset and setting up a plan is is so essential. Yeah, I mean, if you just told a guy, get up before the sun rises, spend an hour at the gym and an hour on your goals, life changes in 30 days. Different guy.
I changed my, I changed my hour in the morning every single day, and I do things now that I can duplicate every morning. And I'll tell you, Andy, my whole life changed even in the last 2 months. And what I did is I wake up, have a cup of coffee, I
Oh,
walk
I do.
5 miles. After I walk, I work out for 15 to 20 minutes, and then I go to work. And I also pay down debt. So I know we talked about LTVs and debt
Yeah.
structure last
Yeah.
night.
That's key.
Yep.
So many guys in my game got crushed. Like 2008 was one of my best years ever. 2020 was my second best year. 2021 was my number one year. So, it's you can't be over leveraged and undercapitalized.
Yep.
If you are, you're going to get squeezed in the rough times. And I try to just plan for the rough times. But that's when there's blood in the streets. That's when guys like you and I make money.
Yeah, well, that's true
For
too.
sure.
And here's the fourth element of habit is you always have to think of a win-win. I know you're good friends with Dean Graziosi. I know you're acquaintances with Tony and Grant and
Yep.
all these guys. How do you take their killer mindset, the mindset of being a steward and helping others, because I know you're into that as well, as am I. How do you take the win-win dynamic and implement it into your daily habits?
Well, I think that the key thing is like if you've seen my emails or text or whatever, you would kind of get my mentality. And it's obviously that's why you and I connected. We're very similar. So is Brian. And the win win for me is win win in every avenue. Like I created a foundation because I wanted to give back and I've given away more money. But my win win is not just cutting a check. A lot of rich people cut checks. I go serve food. That's a win for me. I've heard stories from guys losing their homes and living on the street when I'm serving them potatoes, or they like when I take them, Little Caesars Pizza a lot and Domino's and homeless and hearing the win. So my win-win there is not just cutting a check. That doesn't do anything for your heart. It makes you sleep better maybe, but go do something. That's a win-win. And then when I negotiate deals, 100%. Do you think I steal every deal and beat up the seller?
No.
Hell no.
No.
These sellers, I'm in a tiny community of 384,000 people where the average income is $32,000 and the average home is 130, and I have just shy of 100 million in assets. I want to win. I want that seller to walk away. I want him thinking he kicked me in the butt.
Yeah.
I don't want to, do I buy a $10 million deal usually for say 9 million every day of the week, or all the time, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I want to win-win on everything. My personal trainer to my, fitness to my business deals to my education. So when I look at Dean and Tony and Grant, I take away what resonates with me. Grant, do I want a jet? Yep. Do I want 5 Rolls Royces, 2 Ferraris, and Lamborghinis, and 9 homes? Yep. I take that from him. He makes me uncomfortable because I don't have that, so I got to do it. From Dean and Tony, Dean's like, his family, his wife, him and his wife can't keep their hands off each other. They're so madly in love. And he talks about all that, and we get into that type stuff. Tim Bratz is another guy that I really look up to. He's in his 30s, has 400 million in assets. I'm like, and he just bought his own private island, and I'm like, I want that. So I'm going to take pieces from each. So that's why I think you got to get guys that you look up to, but you resonate. Like Brian Culhane, I resonate so much with him because he can speak now like, he is just badass. I call him in Vegas. I'm speaking in an event. I'm like sweating, crazy, scared. And Brian walks me through the whole process. Do this. I go out and I nail it. So you take a little piece from all of the people that you want to be someday.
Yeah, it's almost a puzzle where you're putting all the pieces together.
You're right.
Your dynamic.
It really
the biggest thing that you touched upon, which I think a lot of people listening in could appreciate, is the idea of service. When you get to a certain level financially, money is great. It's a report card for adults. But I think your legacy is not your income. It's not your net worth. It's the lives that you've touched. And that to me is the most exciting part. What is your concepts of service? And to me, this is great. Hearing your story, having people listen to you and what you've accomplished. I'm impressed with you, my friend. So keep
And I will tell you that Dean told me years ago, and I never understood it. He said, "Don't work for money. Forget the money. Push it aside." And I never realized that until the last 2 years. Like now, I have an income that's substantial, a net worth and liquidity that's all good. but it's really like I'm not a transactional person at all anymore. Like I'm 100% relationship, like you said earlier. Collaboration is the new currency. Man, I want everybody in the world to hear that because honestly, that's so true. I just want to do what I do, and someday a bunch of money will show up. I mean, it will. I mean, I've been very fortunate and blessed, but now, yeah, you're right. It's not about the money at all.
It's
I mean,
about
it's a
social
good
currency. The biggest currency
social
game is
currency.
social currency. Being able to pick
Yeah,
this up and call anyone you want at any time and create that true dynamic of friendship, affection, and
yeah.
win-win. So the next thing, just following off, and I think you could really relate to this, is the fifth is you have to seek first to understand before you are understood. What does that mean to you?
That's deep. Understand before you're understood. I guess that to me, maybe understand what my end game is or my goal is, then people will get it and they'll resonate with me. Like my goal is not just a whole bunch of money or a whole bunch of buildings or another Ferrari in my garage. Um, it's really right now and just probably in the last year, I think I am getting more understood because I'm talking to so many young entrepreneurs that are just like, and no offense, but they're like, they come out of a grant or they come out of Tony Robbins and they're like, I'm going to be a millionaire in a year. I'm going to be a billionaire in 3. No, you're not.
Yeah.
No, it's not going to happen that way. Maybe it is for you, God willing, but so being, I understand to be understood. I want to share with more people on how I got where I am. So that I think they resonate with me, and I'm answering to 20 or 30, DMs a day, every day, with whether they're at 1 million or 20 million net worth or 0 or negative 5 million. I really to be understood. I think it helps where they see where I was, and where I've become. But it's not like money. I'm probably more frugal now than my net worth was 1/6 of where I'm at. And that's weird to say, I know, but I do pay attention to the dollars because the game is bigger stakes.
That's right.
But I have other people too. Am I going to attract young entrepreneurs if I'm just out buying, Rolls Royces and Benzes and Ferraris? No, they want to, they want to see some normalness. So I appreciate that and I try, but I'm a project, man. I got a long way to go. I am.
Oh, that's classic. Well, we're all
Like I said,
projects. We're learning
yeah.
from each other. That's the dynamic. We're all learning, and
That
that's the
is the
power
new
of a collective.
collaboration,
Yeah.
for sure.
You have so many talents, as probably do I, and so many people listening in that we don't yet know about. And I think that's the power of connection, right? Pulling
Right.
these nuggets from others and like, oh, I could use that. I could use that. That's really good. And that idea of giving without thinking of anything in return. So the sixth thing, which we've kind of touched upon, is synergy, right? Synergize. What does that word mean to you in your business model?
For me, in my business model, the synergy is a lot with my team. The guy that does all of my financing, the girl that runs all of my properties, all my buildings. I can manage. I don't have to work, obviously. I can manage all of my business, all of my strip malls in about 4 emails a day. That's it. I'm doing all this stuff that I'm doing for free because I want, like you said, synergy with people that are responding, synergy with guys like you, Grant Cardone. I want respect. We all want significance. And it starts with synergy at me right at home with my team. Like I remember taking my country club and I'm like, let's all get together, put our heads right together. I want you guys to get strategically aligned of what I want. And I did that meeting and I told my CFO, my banker, my manager, my accountant, I'm like, I'm going to buy $50 million. And they're like, Andy, you're crazy. You don't have that much money. You can't do it. You need to relax. And I'm like, have you ever thought of just wanting less? And I said, well, that's why we're having this meeting. Because I'm never going to do that. I'm never going to want less. So you got to get on my page or get off my page. And they all conceded like, shit, I like it. And the synergy has also came from, I don't ask them to do anything I'm not willing to do.
That's the
Sometimes
key.
like my
That's the
property
key.
manager, went in on Sunday to do like this huge thing for me as I need a favor. My CFO, they got families and kids, man. And sometimes I'm emailing and I'm texting them at midnight and 4 in the morning. And gosh darn it, a lot of times they reply. I don't demand that, but they love the energy. But I'm also investing in myself. I spent in 2021 over $150,000 on just education of myself, and my team cuts the checks. I don't know how to write a check or balance a checkbook. I wouldn't have a clue. They see that and they appreciate that man, he's putting out the effort. We're all going to make some money, and we're all going to have fun doing it. It's not like we're in a responsive lifestyle. Like we're proactive, like we said. So I don't ask them to do anything that I won't do. And really, you're right. It's synergy of them, and then synergy. Like when me and Dean talk, or Grant or Tim or Mark Evans or whoever, or you or Brian Culhane, we really do kind of click. And then we also all want to give back. We don't want to make a ton. I mean, we want to make a ton of money, but we want to give back first. And someday a ton of money will show up.
Well, Grant always says it best. If they don't know you, they're not going to flow you. And if you
Well,
don't
you
give, you're never going to get. And that's the key to the
right,
game. Everyone expects to get without giving. And if you give tenfold, the pay it forward mechanism, your destiny is to receive. That's just the way it is.
dude. I wish I could teach that to all my own family.
Yeah.
My nephew, he had saved up $1,000. I'm like, go give $100 to a church,
Mm.
and go give away a donation, whatever. And he thought I was Satan. He's like, what the hell are you talking about? No way, you're an idiot. I go, well, I can give you advice. And I told him to spend, $500 on books and education and pushing. And he thought I was a moron. I'm going to put it all in cryptocurrency. I'm going to put it
Oh,
all in
Jesus.
NFT. I'm like, oh, you go do that. I go, good luck with all your things, because I don't dabble in, like, I'll be honest, in my career where I screwed up a lot is I had a roofing company, a radon company, an embroidery shop, a go-kart company, a batting cage business. I had 2 other franchises. I had like 9 businesses. Stupidest thing ever. As young entrepreneurs, don't do that. We got one bucket. Fill it up with whatever you're passionate about.
So go deep if you can, specifically in the asset class that you're investing in and how you made your money in that last 10 years. This is what people want to know.
All right, so in my situation, I was too all over. Back then, when you're making, I started making 7-figure income at the age of 32, and then you get cocky, you get arrogant, your ego comes out. I'm making 100,000 a month laying on the beach. I think I'm cool, so I'll buy anything. You want me to buy that? I'll buy that, whatever. I mean, my first Lamborghini was at 32, and I thought I was cool. No, you're not. You're an idiot. So I screwed up because I dabbled still in the real estate, but I had, 9 companies and 150 employees, and that was cool. Because when I walked in a room, I had everybody kissing my ass. Um, that was stupid. So then I flipped and agreed, like a lot of those businesses weren't making me money. They weren't making me much. So I decided, well, I had about at 35-ish, I had 600 apartments, and that was doing pretty well. But then I was like, there's more out there. So then I flipped those all into now today. I buy all Class A strip malls, like Buffalo Wild Wings, like I love FedExes, like Walgreens, like Athletico, guys, all types of Class A triple net strip malls. I have really done well with medical buildings and hospitals and medical offices. Now I'm diversifying into industrial and farmland just to diversify. I don't want, $1 billion in just apartments or just medical or just industrial or just retail or office. So I'm going to do a little bit of everything. And a lot of people are going to disagree with me, but it makes me warm and fuzzy and sleep very well at night. So I'm not saying my plan is for everybody, but it works for me.
Well, that's the key. And that brings us to the seventh element of your habit of highly successful people is sharpen the saw. What does sharpen the saw mean to you?
Oh, easy. For me, sharpen a saw, don't get out of my own lane. I'm only allowed, like my team tells me all the time, Andy, we don't need you until we need you. And we stress so you don't stress. So what I do is I just show up at the end of the deal usually. I don't get involved in a lot of the leases. I mean, some leases I do, and there's a lot of questions that got to be answered, but not a ton. So my sharpening my saw would be I pick a building that I like, I know it, I run the numbers, and then I hand it off to them. And I'll be honest, I'm wrong a lot. My guy that does my finances, Kevin, is amazing. He was a bank president for 30 years. He had $10 generals. He's an investor.
Mm-hmm.
My accountant makes millions of dollars that he doesn't like to pay millions in taxes. So I really put smarter people on the task. So sharpening the saw to me is I'm the dumbest guy in the room at every time. And they just see my passion and my drive and my hunger for knowledge, but stay in my own damn lane. Like I get calls all the time. People like, hey, why don't you partner with me and do a deal? Why don't you part? And Kevin always tells me, Andy, No, that's not a good idea. Because I had a partnership that I lost a couple of $1 million on, and that hurt internally in my feelings and my mentality. That hurt me for like a year. I couldn't let it go. It was all negative energy. So I told my guy, I was like, if I ever talk about a partnership again, you kick me in the face because I'm an idiot. It's never worked. You're just not strategically aligned. So I would say buying the best assets with the best returns. Now, sometimes they're not going to be crazy returns. I'm not getting 15, 20% cash on every deal, but like my car washes, they eliminated my income tax bills. My employees are great. My guy that runs them are amazing. So sharpening a saw is really stay in my own lane. Don't get outside of it. You know your bucket. Don't do things that you're not capable to do.
So
I
here's
don't do
another.
financing. I don't even know what banks I owe money. He knows. So I don't have a clue. I think we have 15 banks or 12 or I don't know. The day-to-day management. My girl runs, say, the 150 apartments. I don't know what a toilet costs. I don't know what it costs to paint an apartment. But my team does. And sometimes she's got to go do stuff on Saturdays, Sundays, or at midnight, and that's what she does. And if she gets an item for $10 versus 12, I win. But we're all on that same mentality. I don't get involved in the details because honestly, I'm not good at details. Like I said, I couldn't balance a checkbook to save my life. I haven't written a check. And I don't do that stuff because I'm not allowed to. They don't let me. So that's above my pay grade.
Well, it's interesting you said that because on Clubhouse today, who is it? Phil who? What was the last name? Yeah, Phil Folsom was talking about the King complex, right? You and I are definitely in the top left quadrant, right? The King
Yeah.
complex. But a lot of kings, what they do is they try to go outside the castle and do everything themselves. The shit doesn't
Oh,
work. You got to
that
stay
was
in the
me.
castle, be able to not control everything and delegate to soldiers, to knights, to all these people that are fulfilling your kingdom's wishes and making sure that you're serving them just as much as they're serving you. But here's the big question, because we have some comments in the feed. If you were a young entrepreneur, or let's say an entrepreneur in your 40s and 50s, and you're down and out, you're trying to reinvent your career, you're trying to reinvent your life, where would you start? How would you start?
Oh, I would 100% get into the circles of masterminds.
Mm.
I would get around the Michaels of the world. I'd get around guys like me. We love talking to You don't think I've been down and out? You don't think I've been messed up or mentally, physically, financially? I mean, I've gone through more bruises than I can imagine. So I would say 100% get around like-minded people. I was that guy that my 10 best friends that were all like, we just every day you meet at 5 and go to drink beer and watch whatever and bitch about your day. Those people are not going to take you to the next level. When I sit with Dean Graziosi or say Tony or Grant or Brian, we talk about how do we change the world. I'm crazy enough to think that we can. So if I'm down and out, boom, hit the gym. An hour at the gym will change your life every day. Like going to the gym now is no different than brushing my teeth. But get around like-minded, and I think these masterminds. I mean, you can get a lot of these rooms for like $900, I think, or I don't know. We tend to buy first row because our ego, but get in those circles and change some. You can't get to the promised land. You got to get out of Egypt first to get to the promised land. So you can't get like I'm thinking big numbers. I got to start changing my mentality and thinking like those guys because I got to change it up to get farther faster.
So pull back the curtain. Having talked to those guys intimately, what are some of the big plays they're making that's different than, let's say, the person going from 0 to $1 million?
Really, I think honestly, I mean, it sounds too simple to tell you, but it's really the mindset. I mean, honestly, I mean, it's not, I know it's cliche and it's gay, but it's really mindset. Their mentality, they're not thinking of small, they're thinking of so big, but it's really mentality, mindset, and giving. I swear, it's so crazy. You can't outgive God. The more money we give away, and the more not even made money. They might not be in a spot of money, but from 0 to $1 million, first, give away 10% of what you got. Second, obviously invest in books and education, but get intimate. If you were a guy, you told me, I read 3 books a day on finance. I'm like, well, you're an idiot because that's not the best way. Yes, it's great. I love it. I read 50 books in 2021. I hope to read 60 this year. And I hate reading, and I'm not good at it. I don't like it. I do 70% audio and 30% I sit down and read. And, I don't love it. But it's just changes your overall. Like 0 to 1 million's your hardest. Your first million's the hardest. Your next 9 are easier. And then the next 90 are a little more. It's changing. A guy with a $50 million net worth has different problems than a guy with 5 million.
But they
or
still
versus
have problems.
500.
That's the misconception.
I know everybody thinks we got it made, dude. You don't think I'm not sad a lot of times, or lonely, or depressed, or zero confidence? Like, meeting your friend Jules for coffee. That scares the hell out of me, to be honest. It's scary. She's beautiful, and I'm like, oh crap. They think we have all this confidence. I'd love to tell you guys I do, but it's a daily struggle.
Well, that's the thing. You hit the nail on the head. Confidence, which you said before, is gained by daily deposits and successes made over time. The biggest things and changes in life, whether it be acquiring assets like you're doing, just hitting it, it's done every single day. I mean, I look at these monumental, let's say, paying off debt notes or leveraging money or buying deals. If I'm not doing something every day to move that goalpost forward, I feel like I'm dying inside. I mean, I don't know how to describe it. It's just
Dude, one of my best things is my debt. Every month I get a rev sheet.
Yeah.
How much do we think my properties went up? That's a guess. But what I do know 100% is at the end of the month, I know my cash flow, and my debt reduction is over $200,000 a month.
That's
I don't
big.
have to do anything for that.
Yeah.
I don't even have to get out of bed.
Yeah.
I get that every month, whether I, lay on a beach or do good stuff or bad stuff. So if that's a warm and fuzzy, that's like a little win. I mean, it's a small win to me, but it's something. But I mean, maybe that probably came out wrong. Somebody else, maybe a $200,000 a month, debt reduction or bump, that could be huge. But you will get there, I promise you, if you strategically align the plan. But yeah, confidence is key. Arrogance is stupidity. Ego is stupidity. I had arrogance and I had ego, and it cost me money and it cost me time and it cost me friendships. But the other thing is you got to hang around with people that want to. I mean, your billionaire post was spot on, dude. I love that. I've read it probably 30 times minimum, just to be honest. And I've never told you that, but just hanging out with people that think they're crazy enough to be worth 100 million or a billion or whatever. I don't care if a guy just wants to, I started with just wanting to cover my mortgage payment and, my Corvette payment back then.
So how important, when you talk about your life and where you're going and what you're accomplishing, which are big things, how can you tell the audience the power of proximity, physically putting your ass in the room with these people and talking to them?
Hand to God, that's the best thing we could ever top on. Do you think I went to masterminds from 28 to 38? No. I did join Strategic Coach. I did that with Dean Graziosi. One of the things I had that you had to have a minimum income of $500,000 a year. As Dan Sullivan, I had to go to Canada every 90 days. So I got into that group. It was $30K a year to do it. And it taught you about what's your unique ability, what is the best that creates the largest paycheck. But that was an amazing thing. Now, Dean forced me kind of to do it. I didn't want to do it. I thought I was smart. Right. Thought I had shit figured out. But if I can hang out with 20 other guys in the room, they're all 8-figure net worth guys, all making, over $500,000 a year.
Or gals.
Or gals, sorry. And it's really, proximity is number one, dude. Like when I sit with you or these names that I'm bringing out, but here's the sucky thing. I'm going to tell the honest truth. You're going to lose a lot of friends on the way up.
Totally.
All my best friends that were my high school buddies, my motorcycles, my thousands of skydives, I don't get to hang out with them anymore because they think I'm nuts and they don't agree with my lifestyle. I took 46 flights last year. I didn't have to take one. A lot of it was fun, but a lot of it was honestly proximity. I don't know. I don't have a clue what I spend on travel in a year, but I'm sure it's significant. And proximity is, man, would somebody have told me that 10 years ago, my net worth would be triple where I'm at.
Well, if anyone has any questions, and it's the dynamic of after the mastermind, you've gone to a lot of masterminds. Like you were talking last night about being on the stage with Floyd Mayweather. I put him back in. I don't know if we need to do that right here. Oh, you got him. Hold on, he came off. But what I was saying is, Andy was on the actual stage with Floyd Money Mayweather a while back, And I wanted to hear that experience. So, Andy, I was telling the audience you were on stage with Floyd Money Mayweather, and you said, "Oh, he's a real humble guy," and everyone's like, "Bullshit, he's humble." Describe that experience and why you thought he was such a great, unique version of himself.
Man, that's a weird one. So I spoke on stage just before Floyd Mayweather, and honestly, I don't follow sports.
What did you
You
speak
know,
on before him?
real estate and wealth creation. Um, and I don't watch sports. I wish I did. My man card should probably be revoked. But I don't watch football or basketball or baseball. But anyway, and I don't watch boxing. Now, I did throw a big, bad Floyd Mayweather fight. But anyway, dude, I didn't like him before I met him. I didn't give a shit about meeting him. I thought he was an arrogant prick. He's got an $18 million Rolex. He's got this. But what I learned was his arrogance, it got his attention of people. But also, I learned from myself, I didn't dislike him because all that shit he was doing. I disliked him because I was envious.
That's a
I want
good
an
point.
$18 million watch. I want a yacht. I want a 50,000 square foot mansion. But when you sit and talk to Floyd about that, I didn't have any envy. Envy went out the window because he's like, Andy, you know why I made so much money? I made $100 million in one day. I was like, what?
The
Wait,
McGregor
what?
fight or what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, what? Yeah, it was the Phil McGregor. What are you talking about? I don't understand. And he's like, I got offered all this money and I went on my own. I did it all myself. I didn't like, no offense, like a Tiger Woods or a Michael Jordan, you got Sprite or Nike or whatever paying him $100 million. He's like, no, I got the whole $100 million. They cut me a check for $100 million. I was like, dude, why don't you tell the world that? He's like, well, I got to get the world to get my attention first. They just think I'm a boxer. He's so far from a boxer, dude. That dude is a business savvy. I mean, every angle, like he rides through Compton every day, or not every day, every week. He said, he told me, he's like, I ride a bike. I'm like, you're Floyd Mayweather. How do you ride a bike through Compton? He goes, because I'm going to change it. In my lifetime, I will change Compton. It will go away. I was like, what?
So he
goes,
wants
yeah.
to make an impact on the African American community and change
Yes.
the trajectory
And
of
poverty.
their income levels.
He's like, his first job was I don't know if anybody knows this, but it was a drug dealer. He was going to be a drug dealer. He went to do the drug deal, and he's like, something like snapped him, and he's like, Andy, I just felt that wasn't the right deal. But he goes, my friends are driving cool cars, and he's like, I just left and went to the gym. It is funny, too, because I was like, so how's the gym now? He's like, oh, I don't go to the gym. Maybe once, twice a week. He goes, I ride my bike. We have fun. He just, honestly, I know it's weird to say, but I disliked him because of the arrogance, which I have arrogance. We all do. We have confidence and arrogance to get to where we're at. But I was like, he's kind of, but it was envy. And I didn't know it until we sat and talked for 10 minutes. I was like, dude, I was just jealous of you this whole time. And don't be jealous.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think it's important to recognize is you have to appreciate, align, and clap success. And so when I look at people more successful than me, I want to get to know them. I want to be in the same room as them. I want to talk to them. And I love listening to your story because to me, that collective, that power of knowing something that that I do not yet know is the most powerful thing in the world. And I think what people do wrong is that idea of, oh, I don't like that guy. He's an asshole. He's this. And they put success down.
Yeah, I didn't love Grant at first either.
I didn't either. No, and
now I love him.
But you know why, right? Because it's that insecurity within ourselves where we're rationalizing why we don't like someone because they have something that we have yet to attain. That's the problem.
Right. I'm extremely insecure. I see the guy with the rolls. I want to know how he got it, what he did. I see the yachts, the mansions. How'd you do to get it? Now I'm like, I love you, dude. And I didn't realize that until the last couple of years. That took some time. But yeah, when you sit and talk to Grant, same thing. He's the most humble dude, and he just wants everybody to win. Dean, Tony, Grant, Brian Culhane, Floyd Mayweather, Brandon Dawson, all these people, you sit and talk to them 5 minutes, I guarantee you have no envy, it's gone. No jealousy, gone. No hate, gone. You love them, and you want to go grab a beer with them or smoke a cigar or whatever. You want to hang out. You just want to be around them. You're going to get richer by being next to them.
It's that energy. And I think that's the dynamic. Like last night, you had some really interesting topics, and Matt was really complimentary of you this morning. He says, Andy went deep about his businesses that I'd never heard before, and I'm like, well, I wanted to learn. Like, I think it's fascinating to hear you coming from a trailer park to becoming a multi-deca millionaire. This is what this is about, right? Millionaire brand creation. How do you come from nothing to create something? But more importantly, masters teach their successes to others. You're only a master if you can take what you've done and have it duplicated with other people. And that's, I think, our journey.
Our journey. And I will tell you, sitting with Dean as much as I have in the last week, and we were having dinner at the same restaurant you and I had dinner at last night, he said that. He goes, what is the next thing? Like, you got buildings buying, you're good. What do you want to do? And I said, I never thought of this ever until Dean called me out. And I was like, I want to really educate younger people. I want to teach me's of the world. When you're 20 and you're 19 and you live in a trailer, my first home I bought was a $4,000 trailer. I thought everybody lived in mobile homes. I guess I was wrong, but that was my head. That was my persona.
Yeah.
That's what I want to do. Dean's like, you should do it. Honestly, I told you last night at dinner, this is scary as hell to me. I don't know what I'm doing here, but I'm just trying to be as honest and transparent and forthcoming. And I do want to do what you're doing here someday when I'm more confident. I don't know. It'll take time.
All the skills, man. I'll tell you, your story, having the wherewithal and the courage, like you said, to reach out to people like you did to me and said, hey, I really like your energy. I want to hang out, And we're not easy to access. We got a lot of shit going on.
Right.
But that I don't discredit that, because that takes courage and that takes power.
Oh, I remember sending that message. I was scared.
No.
I was like, all I said, I don't know who's listening. I don't have a clue, but all I said was, I just like you. I think you're cool, and I want to hang out with you. That's pretty much, and I want to learn from you. And you kind of shut me down. You were like, my circle is very, very small, and me and Brian Culhane do not allow people in our circle. I was like, dude, I get it. I love it. I respect that. Totally get it. And so I got turned down for my date with you, but that's okay.
You got one last night.
Yeah, I finally got my date. But it's also, it takes time, and you've got to see a synergy. You got to see energy, because I get a lot of that too. Young guy, I get constant calls. Can we call in a chat? And I'm like, and I'll tell you, I learned that from you. Because before, I never looked at my time before, because of you. Thank you, Lord, you rejected me and you turned me down for my date. Because I learned, you're right. He's freaking right. I don't like it. I got turned down. But that was one of the best pieces of education I got, is a guy telling me no. And I'm like, all I want to do is buy you a dinner. You want me to send you a Ferrari or what? And I learned from that, because you know how many people try to grab me or take me. And I'm like, now I'm to the point, like, I have no problem meeting you, Zoom meeting, whatever, having dinner, whatever. But I want you to invest in yourself first. Like, now I'm at a point, like, all right, you want to learn from me? Go to 3 books. Go to a mastermind. Because when you taught me that, I was like, everybody calls me and I'm spread thin sometimes. And I'm not that busy and I'm not very important. But I say yes to everything. To get to the promised land, I got to learn to say no. Like you said, no, my time's very valuable. And now I'm implementing that. I'm like, okay, I'll work with anybody. I'll meet anybody for whatever. But put some effort into yourself. Show me that you're going to put effort into what I've done. Because I have got a Harvard education that cost millions of dollars. I did it through hard knocks.
Well, here's the thing too. I look at one quality in people. I don't care about how much money you have. I don't care about where you came from. I don't care about your skin color. I don't care about your creed, your credence, your language, any of those things. I care about your work ethic and your ability to want to succeed. And you have that in spades, my friends. And I'll tell you, that's the key. If you want to enter our circle, you have to have strong work ethic to understand, I don't know if one day I'm going to be successful. I am going to be successful. I know it. It's in my blood. It's in my DNA. There's no doubt in my mind. Yep. You have that energy. And it's important for people, and you yourself, you have so many skills, Andy. Have confidence in teaching that to others and being sure of yourself, because I'll tell you, people need this in our world.
I think so too.
There's too many people that are poor. There's too many people that are down and out and depressed. There's too many people that are overweight. There's too many people not using their gifts to help other people. And we need more of this.
And I think, honestly, don't take it the wrong way. I don't know who I may offend out there, but I hate to even say this. A year and a half ago, I didn't do any social media, period, zero. Didn't have Instagram, didn't do anything on Facebook. But I just started following. There's so much fake. there's so much bullshit. Like they rent the house or they rent the Ferrari or they lease the jet. There's so like, oh, I own $50 million in property. No, you don't. You own 5% of that. Let's just be honest and transparent and forthright.
Yeah.
You know, I own my homes. I own my car. I mean, I don't rent it. I mean, it's, you know what I mean? Like there's so much. And what it does is it frustrates me because imagine the 25-year-old kid that he wants a Ferrari or he wants $1 million home or whatever. And he's like, oh, it's easy. This guy's got it and he did it in a year. And this guy's got it and he did it in 18 months. I'm like, dude, I didn't do it any of this fast. I didn't want to get rich fast. I wanted to get rich for sure. So
you stole my line. That's what I call Nick. So if Nick's listening in, that's what I always say is I don't want to get rich quick. I want to get rich for sure. And the only vehicle I've learned to do that is real estate. I'm sure you'd agree with me too,
100%. But don't you feel bad for all these young people or even guys in their 40s? They're like, I'm too old or too late. No, you're not. No, you're not.
Never too late to change.
Yeah, we can get you in the game and just do it strategically, authentically, transparently. Give before you receive. Don't ask for anything you haven't deserved or earned. And don't be fake. Don't say, you know, you're on private jets all the time. I don't own a jet.
I don't.
Do I want one? Yeah. But how many people are saying they're on it all the time? And I only fly private. Well, if you're flying private and your net worth is, you know, under 30, 40, 50 million, you're an idiot, in my honest opinion.
Yeah. No, it's important. I think it's important for people to hear the, you know, it's the 3 R's, right? Real, raw, and relevant. And the more this hits home for people starting out, because again, we all started from zero. I mean, I wasn't given an inheritance. You weren't given an inheritance.
No.
I had a lot of gifts given to me as far as, you know, people I looked up to, great, strong work ethic at home, the ability of education and meeting people. And I'll tell you, and I think you'd agree with me, the biggest thing people can do to change their lives is physically put yourself in a situation where you feel uncomfortable with people more successful than you.
It's so funny. Dean told me that. He's like, you need to get into more, because I told him about this. He texted me. He's like, Andy, do it. I was nervous. I was like, should I do this? Yeah. I feel like it's bragging or whatever, and I don't want to be arrogant. But I want to be honest. He said the same what you just said. He said this morning, be in situations that make you feel uncomfortable. And you're, like I told Brian Culhane, you're sweating. I was like, okay.
Here's another thing. I got a buddy of mine. We had dinner a couple of weeks ago. He texted me this morning. Real successful guy, humble. How many times have you heard that word? I don't want people to know I'm under the radar.
Yeah, right.
And I said, bro, you have all these talents. You have all these gifts. Why aren't you helping people with your gifts? Oh, I don't want to brag. I said, if you're not putting your energy out there, if you're not touching people for the better, if you're not helping people elevate, your legacy is doomed. Like you're not doing what you were put on this earth to do, which is touch and help people.
And I've only learned that recently. In my town, that I know every 9-figure guy in my town. We all have, you know, coffee, lunch, and they hate me. Because they're like, why do you talk about this stuff? We want to keep everything private. They love stories of me at Trump Tower, driving my Lamborghini or my private limousine or blah, blah, blah. They want to hear about that stuff. I want to talk about, hey, guys, you got 140 million net worth. How'd you get there? You will never get it I'm in, you know, Iowa, you know, farm country, man. You won't get people to talk about it. And you're right.
Why do you think that is? Why do you think that they're so afraid to pull back the curtain?
They think if other people have an idea what they did, they may pass them up or do the same. I want everybody to get stupid rich.
I agree.
That sounds fun. I was talking to Dean about it. I'm like, I want us to go, hey, Friday, you want to meet in Vegas? Do you want to take your jet or mine? I'm not there yet, but I want those conversations. I want my circle to be like, hey, you throw all your black cards in the center of the table and you go, hey, which jet we taking tonight, boys? And where are we going? Let's just throw a dart at a map. That's the circles I'm going for. And it's hard over time, because you got to go against everything you've taught. Everything you've taught.
And I'm not allowed to talk about it's isolating. It's isolating because you get further and further and further to the top. I mean, I think that billionaire post that I did, which we had a great party with Matt here, who did a great job, and Brian, who held that. What was it called? The Las Vegas party. What was that called?
That was the
Golden Era party, right? So no, I'm telling you, I mean, Andy, this was right up your alley. We had 3 billionaires in the same room.
Oh my God.
Several hundred, like millionaires, right? And probably 7 or 8 celebrities, well-known celebrities. And we're all sitting there pitching ourselves going, oh my God, like this is just overkill. But what was really...
So can I get an invite next time?
Yeah, well, let's go join EXP, right?
Yeah, okay.
Let's
Touche.
go. No, but that's the
Tuesday.
key to the game is what is that worth, right? And it was funny because Mike, some of my agents are on here listening in, and they're going to rewatch this. But here is the key. I said the payment for going to this event is this. This is a moment of a lifetime. You guys might not realize it now, but going in and having a night like this, many people can only dream about, right? There's only 2,600 billionaires in the world, and you're meeting 3 of them in one night. Get your act together, get your phones out, get your ears up, get your mouths ready, and start making it, documenting it, and using it to propel your lives and other people's forward with this moment. And they did. But that's the key. It's like you have these moments, right? When you were on stage with Floyd, when you were talking to Grant, he was berating you about shit. You got to go to the next level, right?
Yeah.
I mean, and in those moments, you're like, shit, you're right, I do. If he can do it, I can do it, right?
Right. We all got the same 24 hours. And speaking about your event, I will tell you, Dean Graziosi 10 years ago, this is a screw up. And it cost me, I think, probably $10 million. But maybe, I don't know, exaggerating. But Dean calls me, he texts me one night. And he's like, I think it's 2010 or 12, something like that. And he's like, Andy, I want you to go to Necker Island. He was real close buddies with Richard Branson.
Yeah.
And he's like, I want you to go. We're leaving on Tuesday. He calls me on Friday. Taking a private jet out of Scottsdale to go to Necker Island for 4 nights. But it's $75,000.
Shit, bro, you got to go.
Right, I know. And I didn't. And I said no. I said, dude, Dean, I love, because it wasn't business.
Yeah.
We're just going to go party and drink and have fun with Richard Branson on Necker Island and a staff. And it's just going to be 8 people. We're going to take a private jet, $75K. And I was like, dude, I'm not at that level. I mean, my net worth was probably 10 million maybe. So could I afford it? Yes.
Yeah, you should have.
But did I see the value in it? Not even a little. I was like, I'm not going to splurge 70. And I said no to Dean in about 5 seconds. And I was like, that's for you. And he went, and guess what? They did business together. Now they're best friends. And I never went. And I've regretted not going in. And I also said, I'm like, he's a billionaire. I don't need to be hanging out with him. I'm not at that level. Maybe my net worth, I think, was 10 years. I don't know, maybe 7, 10, I don't know, 7, 8, 10
That's
million.
a common mistake.
I could have gone in a second. I had the cash, but I was cheap. I was from Iowa. I wasn't confident to sit in a room with Richard Branson. I could have spent, now if Dean called me today and said, I want you to go spend a week with Richard Branson and me and a couple other guys in my group, and it's $500,000.
Yeah.
I'd wire the money in 5 minutes.
Of course you would.
I hit click and send him $500,000.
Yeah.
But I was an idiot and I've regretted it since. So I would tell your crowd too, if it's an uncomfortable situation, run to it. Whether it's coffee with some gorgeous, superwoman or getting on a podcast with you. It's scary. Do it.
Okay, so we got one quote. What do you want to leave the people with today? Because we got about 2 minutes left. I want to end it with a bang. If you could say one thing that encapsulates everything we talked about today, the 7 habits of highly successful people, your life story, what would you say?
That's tough. I would say the biggest thing, we'll tap on that, is missed opportunities. Don't have missed opportunities. Don't be arrogant enough to think in your head that God will give you that opportunity again.
That's a big one.
I'll leave with that. Missed opportunities. Don't be arrogant enough to think that God will give you that exact opportunity again. Do you think I'll ever get that opportunity for Necker Island again? I don't know, but I don't think so. But I was arrogant enough that maybe it'll come around and I didn't see the value. So honestly, that, and just work your ass off and be transparent, honest, and humble and kind, and give more than you ask.